Hi, I'm Duy,
And I'm Minnie.
and we are continuing a read-through from this book, a Smithsonian book of comic book comics, which was published in the late 80s and collects a bunch of comic book stories from the 1940s to the 1950s, commonly known as the Golden Age of comics. We are talking today about Basil Wolverton and reading a work of his called Powerhouse Pepper. Powerhouse Pepper by Basil Blastbean Wolverton. Bang, bang.
Scram, varmints. I'll slaughter any hombre what ain't out of my sight by the time I count to 10.
Beat it for cover, everybody. It's Raw-Jaw McClaw, the big outlaw. Gangway! Run for your life, stranger, or Raw-Jaw McClaw will perforate your craw. Good.
I was not expecting that.
Really?
I was like, okay, what accent are we doing today? Oh.
Wait, who were you more surprised by, yours or mine?
I just didn't know. I was so used to the kind of...
The New Yorker, transatlantic.
Yeah. Look, that short guy what just came to town ain't running for shelter.
Then he ain't got long to live, poor feller.
8, 9, 10. You heard what I said, so here it is, bud.
Bang!
Oh, shucks. I should have known it was a closed dummy. No one but a dummy would have nerve enough to stay out in the open when I come around.
Look, I'm no dummy, Rummy, and I resent your blasting my bean.
Well, any hombre with a noggin that hard must be almost as tough as I am.
Well, what are you going to do about this?
Think you're tough enough to yell at me, eh? Well, follow me, bud, and I'll show you how tough I really am.
This is hilarious. It's just them walking.
Service. I want a big beaker of black benzene and boiled brimstone, with a shot of shingle stain, a jigger of jump juice, a hunk of horse harness floating on top, and a chunk of chipped china for a chaser.
I hope it's just the way you like it, Mr. McClaw. Don't spar on this bar.
Now, if you can drink anything stronger than this, then I'll admit you're as tough as me.
Make mine a glass of milk. Milk? What is milk?
Huh?
Look at these signs. Carbolic crush, 1 clinker. Brake fluid, 1 buck.
You mean that stuff that comes from cows?
Sure, I drink a couple of quarts of it every day.
He drinks it, he says. Who ever heard of that? Just thinking about it makes me woozy.
You must be allergic to milk. I never even heard of a drink like that. It must be mighty powerful.
Plop.
He's cold as a cod, so I better drag him out. Cow Carcass Cafe.
Just a minute, lad. I'm the sheriff here, and I'll take care of Raw-Jaw McClaw. I hope.
Okay, Sheriff. Hide, horse harness! McClaw is behind the bars at last. Now the town can rest easy.
Yeah? What if he bails out? Then he'll bump all of us off.
And that short guy is the first one he'll get.
This looks like my big day. I'll tackle that, stranger. Howdy, stranger. I am J. Clammy Shaker, the happy undertaker. Would you care to make a down payment on a beautiful pine box, just in case McClaw breaks out of jail?
Hell.
What?
This guy. No sale.
Oh, fudge. And I just bought a new shovel.
Meanwhile...
What happened? Where am I?
You're in the hands of the law, McClaw.
Huh. That's a good one. There ain't no clank what can hold this gink.
Buy a file from the sheriff for 1 fin a file.
See what I mean, Sheriff?
Crash! Oh, these are really weak balls. Oh, he's really strong.
It's really strong.
My uncle's strong.
Now I'm gonna do what I came to do. Clean out the bank. Then I'm gonna tear this town apart, including that guy what says he drinks milk.
Mud bank. Bud Mud. President. Tusk.
Dole out every dime in this dump. For your name is Mud. Mud. His name is Mud.
Bud Mud. We loan bones. Bury your berries in the mud bank. Ha ha, Claw, the joke is on you. The bank went broke just yesterday, and there's nothing left. Those teeth are hilarious.
We'll see about that.
Chafe safe company. Wham! See, all I gotta do is my own laundry.
What a nauseating development this is. Now I'll have to go to all the trouble of robbing some other bank. It's awful the way I have to work for my money.
Look, McClaw's coming out of the bank, and he's heading this way.
Let's beat it for the hills.
That's a darn good idea, but there ain't no hills in these parts. Don't get your blood in a flood, man. Maybe I can handle him.
You're plumb mad, lad. McClaw would chaw your jaw raw with one paw.
Don't sag on the main drag.
Get off the street when you see me coming, you gaping lunkheads, or I'll wade in and crush every carcass in the crowd.
Walla Walla, 1,000 miles. This town is sick of you. You better get out and stay out.
Well, look who's talking. I suppose you're gonna put me out, eh?
Maybe.
Like fun you will, Pill. I'm gonna chill your bill, I will.
Quick, watch the needle.
Ugh.
Whoomp. My, what big open spaces you have.
That's not fair. You dodged.
Then try it again, and next time I won't dodge.
He sure is asking for it, eh, readers? Just watch me KO this B.O. This bow.
I think it's probably B.O.
Okay. Oh. Clunk. Oh!
Let that be a lesson to you. And let this be another lesson to you. Splat. Thud.
You bully! You knocked the cigarette out of my mush. That hasn't happened to me since I was 3 years old.
Months.
3 months old.
Now, will you get out of town, or do you want some more?
I'm sticking right here, and nothing can make me move. Remember, you can't hit a man when he's down.
This sign isn't upside down, it's the magazine. There should be some manner of making this mutt move.
Ha ha. Why don't you give up? You might as well admit I got you up a stump, chump.
Ah! 2 ticks later.
Hey, what's the idea of that animal? I hate cows.
That's what I figured. Mange range, gas pass. I think you should try a little milk. It'll be good for you.
Milk? No, not that. I can't stand it.
Well, if you can't stand it, you can leave. Otherwise, I'm going to cram it down your craw, my claw. Sip, swish. Hairy Prairie. Yippee, my claw's crammed.
So what? You'll be back some other time.
Don't worry, if he comes back, you can always scare him away with milk.
Stranger, you saved our town.
Yahoo! Hooray! Right, as mayor of this dump, I herewith present you with this key to our city. But this is a piano key.
Sure, it's a key you see for chasing out McClaw.
Hey, I'll bet $1 that this boy is a secret United States Marshal.
Is that right, stranger?
Oh, that's right. Here's my badge.
And you know what? Who ever heard of a Western story with a stranger that didn't turn out to be a U.S. Marshal?
Follow me for further flocks of funny business, friends.
About Basil Wolverton. Powerhouse Pepper was the work of Basil Wolverton, who also produced one of the best-known and most widely distributed caricatures ever drawn by an American. Only a few of the millions who saw that drawing bothered to retain its artist's name, however, and fewer still learned much about his other work. Finally, although Wolverton has a high reputation among the aficionados of the comic book, He produced at least two kinds of features, and thus his admirers have trouble deciding which represented the best Wolverton or the real Wolverton. Basil Wolverton, 1909 to 1978, was born in the Oregon town of Central Point. With no formal art training, he sold his first cartoon to America's Humor in 1926. He was long established as a newspaper artist in the Northwest by the time he started contributing to comic books in 1938. His first regular feature was Space Hawk, an interplanetary adventure with a far larger-than-life hero begun in Target Comics in mid-1940. Space Hawk's adventures were often brutal and violent, and, not uniquely, they tended to equate retribution with justice. Wolverton's depictions of realistic figures in Space Hawk and his other space fantasies were often stiff and posturing, and his panels occasionally cramped. But his grasp of depth and perspective was almost uncanny, and resulted in one of the most compelling visual fantasies ever seen in the comics idiom. Indeed, Wolverton's 1940s drawings of space-suited figures adrift, attached umbilically to their motherships, craftily predict the realities of the space shots of the 1960s and 1970s. Wolverton's most famous cartoon, mentioned earlier, appeared on a cover of Life in 1946. It came about as a result of a contest held by United Feature Syndicate for the best depiction of a character alluded to but never seen in Al Cap's Lil Abner, Lena the Hyena, Laura Slabovia's Ugliest Woman. Wolverton won with a drawing that managed to be ingeniously hideous and compellingly gleeful all at once. The drawing more or less established Wolverton as a master of comic grotesques, and he contributed more of them to Mad in the 1950s and to the short-lived Plop in the 1970s. Beginning in 1942, meanwhile, Wolverton had contributed Powerhouse Pepper, an example of which we have chosen for inclusion here. Powerhouse Pepper was conceived somewhat along the lines of Popeye or Alley-Oop, as a relatively innocent comic hero who could outpunch anyone who pushed him too far. His adventures frequently involved him in the kind of broad burlesque of standard plots and situations depicted here. In these explosive, low comic stories, Wolverton's talent for grotesques was always there but always latent. His comparative ease with cartoon figures of keenly exaggerated anatomy, Wolverton's engaging silliness, his sight gag ornamentation of his silliness in his drawings, his elementary energy in depicting comic attitudes, all of these resources thrived in Powerhouse Pepper. In addition, he sprinkled his Powerhouse dialogue with engaging doggerel rhymes and alliterations. The features lasted nearly a decade after Powerhouse's initial appearance in Joker Comics, and there were 5 intermittent issues of a Powerhouse Pepper comic book as well.
Okay.
I don't know what doggerel means.
I think doggerel means it's like a poem that's not really all the way thought through, you know?
You look up doggerel.
So it's like you know that remember the 5th of November thing?
Mm-hmm.
I think that counts as a doggerel.
What is a doggerel rhyme? Is poetry that is irregular in rhythm and in rhyme, often deliberately for burlesque or comic effects. So
I'm not particularly familiar with Basil Wolverton.
Okay. Is this your first time reading this also?
No, I mean, I must have read it because I told you I borrowed this book from the library over and over again back when I was a kid. But I didn't appreciate it because it was all about superheroes back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Donald Duck is in this book, and I don't think I appreciated it back then. We all know I've learned my lesson. Thoughts about Powerhouse Pepper?
There's a lot.
Let's start with...
No, I mean, there's a lot to process because of his penchant for,
alliteration, rhyme.
Yeah. And I think
just from the start alone, we're like, it's Raw John McClaw, the big outlaw, run for your life, stranger. Raw John McClaw will perforate your craw.
Yeah. I think it begs to be read aloud, actually.
I think it's great in that way.
Yeah, I think if I were a kid reading it, I think I would have to read it out loud just to see how it sounded.
It reminds me of, the whole beatnik movement,
Mm-hmm.
Jack Kerouac.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it actually reminds me of, which is funny, but just in the way of speech,
Mm-hmm.
because that's Jack Kerouac liked doing that.
Mm.
Which is funny because I don't think the beatnik movement was about classic westerns.
Yeah. No, there's I'm trying to remember what other more current, and by more current I mean like the past 20 years, something after the year 2000. Um, comedy outfit does this specific kind of wordplay. I know there's someone, but I can't think of it right now. But like as we were reading it, I was like, I know this is ringing a
reminds you
bell.
of someone.
Yeah.
Powerhouse Pepper, I guess there was a whole movement of characters that were like Popeye back then.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a regular dude who happens to be super strong.
Yeah. I mean, I could see this guy, the villain, being like a Bruno type,
Bluto.
Bluto type. Yeah, Bruno.
Well, he's Bluto and Brutus.
Ah,
So
wait, what?
yeah,
Okay.
because Popeye changed ownership at some point,
Okay.
but they didn't think that they had the right, so they changed his name to Brutus.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I like the cartooning a lot. Powerhouse Pepper himself, like his design throws me off because of his head,
Why? Because it's so narrow.
because it's so
And
narrow.
he doesn't have a neck.
It's so narrow he doesn't have a neck.
It's like an extended neck.
He's basically like a pencil.
Yeah.
But Raja McClaw's design.
I know, he's powerful. He's a massive man.
He just takes up so much space, and like his teeth are like, because it's very rare that you see every individual tooth drawn,
Yeah.
and usually you do that when you want to show that someone's ugly.
Yeah.
And I think that's really funny. Very smooth lines too. This guy knew what he was doing. And my point of comparison is always that first Superman.
Mm.
And I think it's pretty clear, having read everything so far, that that first Superman is actually the work of two people who probably didn't really know what they were doing.
Well, like, what year was this?
This was, I'm gonna say 1948.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's about
Yeah,
11
it's like
years.
technological
10 years.
development right there. Well, I don't know.
I like this panel because instead of like just getting into a fist fight,
Mhm.
we're like, we're going to calmly walk to the saloon now.
Yeah.
And when you were reading this, I was just laughing. A big beaker of black benzene and boiled brimstone, with a shot of shingle stain, a jigger of jump juice, a hunk of horse harness floating on top, and a chunk of chip china for a chaser.
Yeah, no, this guy likes words.
Quite fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the ending where he's a marshal is a homage to the Lone Ranger.
I mean, I'm not familiar with the Lone Ranger.
I think the Lone Ranger shows up to a different town every time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's a secret United States Marshal,
Mm-hmm.
but that right there. And also, like, it does feel it's clearly aimed at kids, right? Because Milk is the hero of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's basically like drink your milk. You think it's what you think it was like
Spinach.
trying to make spinach for?
Were they trying to make spinach? Is that the point of Popeye?
No, I think spinach was just the thing that they picked, and then it just happened to up spinach sales.
Mm-hmm. No, maybe.
But it does seem like it just follows the
Wait,
Popeye
what came
formula.
first? Popeye came first.
Popeye.
What year was Popeye?
Popeye predates Superman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So this is like way after Popeye.
this is way after Popeye.
Okay.
But Popeye also didn't have his own comic at first. He was like a supporting character
Mhm.
in a comic strip called Thimble Theater.
Mhm.
Well, it was already like 10 or so years old when Popeye showed up. That's a great cow. That's a great cow in its ridiculousness because it doesn't look anything like a real cow.
I mean, it kind of looks like a real cow. It has all the parts.
It has all the parts. It was all the individual parts of a cow but it doesn't quite come together as a cow, but you know it's a cow because it has all the parts.
It looks like a cow the same way that those guys look like people.
Fair enough.
Hmm.
What do you think of this Undertaker?
It's so random.
The Undertaker?
Yeah, like he just zips in and then zips out. I definitely thought he would come back.
He's funny though.
He is funny. But I thought he would play more of a role at some point.
Even the signs are funny.
No, yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Like he likes the words.
Carbolic crush, brake fluid, don't spar on this bar. This is my favorite panel. Do you have a favorite panel?
I was pretty amused when he talked to us, to the reader, because I'm not sure I've seen that yet. I mean,
I don't
in the
think
stuff
we
that
have.
we've read,
No, I don't think we have.
right?
Well, I mean, Captain Marvel and the gang talk to you at the very end.
Yeah, but that's not the same.
It's not in the context of the story.
Yeah.
It's a charming book that happened. It's a charming art style that happens to be ugly.
Yeah.
I would say it's an ugly art style, but it's good that it's ugly.
It definitely is. I mean, he won an award for basically being
for
good at
being
ugly.
Okay, well, let us know what you think of Powerhouse Pepper and Basil Wolverton. Come back next time.